Hi, I'm Chris Haigh and this is the Fiddle channel, and today I'm going to show you 9-pound hammer. This 9-pound hammer is a request for Michael Horde. Thank you for asking for this. It's a great tune. I'm going to give you 5 different versions. Basically, we're going to start off with the simplest version of the melody, and then we're going to add drones, double stops, shuffles, and finally some soloing. So this is an example of the type of complexity that you can add in layers over any bluegrass tune. It will always start off simple, and there's always something for everyone there, and you can always take it really as far as you want. It's a traditional melody. It was first recorded by Al Hopkins and his Bucklebusters back in 1927, and then by the Monroe Brothers in 1936, and by Merle Travis in 1947, and by just about everyone since. What I'm going to show you first is the vocal melody. 1, 2, 3. So it's a really simple sequence, basically just 8 bars, an 8-bar verse and an 8-bar chorus, and the chords are the same, and the melody is almost the same. So let's just hear that with the backing. Notice that blue note, which is at the end of the 3rd line. It could be played natural. It's often sung flat, but it could be played somewhere in between. So if you start it off flat and then just slide it up a little bit so it lies somewhere in between. So just like that, the melody is pretty uninspiring. The first and easiest thing you can do to it is to add some drones, that is open string double notes. In the key of G, this is a little bit limited, but what we can do is a lot of open Gs and a few open Ds. So that adds quite a lot. It thickens the sound. You don't have to do a drone on every note, and with experience you'll be able to pick out the notes which you think are going to work and the ones you think are not going to work. Let's just hear that again with the backing. Now drones are very limited, particularly in certain keys, and it's much more interesting if you do double stops as well, which are basically fingered second notes. So the first thing we can do is, which is a very particular bluegrass harmony, it's the G with a D below it, a second finger with a 3rd finger below it, and as soon as you play that, it immediately sounds bluegrass. So what we got here is a G with an E below it, sliding down to a E with a C below it. And when we did the drone in this key, basically you couldn't really hear that there was a C chord, but here you very clearly can. So and then here, so we're sliding up to the D chord. And then here we're giving the alternative harmony for the G, which will be the G with a B below it. So let's just hear that again. 1, 2, 3. And then the second half. And the G, we're turning into a G7 by putting in a F natural over an A. So that's a really nice line, a descending line, going from the G to the G7 to the C. And the seventh is often not an integral part of the tune, but it's a very common thing to do, for the fiddle in particular, to add that harmony. So here again on the last line, we're doing that movement, the D staying where it is, first finger, second finger. So let's just hear these double stops over the chords. Now, another thing you can do, a basic principle you can add to this is adding shuffles. So we can add it directly onto what we've just done with those double stops. And there are two main shuffles that you can use, the Georgia shuffle and the Nashville shuffle. So with the Georgia shuffle, the accent is always a single bow, and it's usually coming down. So that's the typical pattern. Starting with the down bow. So that's the Georgia shuffle. The Nashville shuffle is da 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 da. So it's alternating long and short, and the accent is alternating between up and down. So this adds a lot of drive to it. If you're playing in a full 5-piece band, then you're not necessarily going to need to do shuffles very much, because the rhythm is already taken care of. But if there's only yourself and maybe one other musician, then a shuffle is really useful. Let's hear this Georgia shuffle and the Nashville shuffle together. And if you'd like to learn more about the Nashville shuffle and the Georgia shuffle, I have a video on each of these which will explain them in much more detail. So having added drones and double stops and shuffles, we're finally going to add some licks to make a bit of a solo. With traditional bluegrass, the solo is based very closely around the melody. With more modern bluegrass, it can move quite a lot further away. And what I've got here is somewhere in between. So we've got the main anchor points of the melody, with a lot of little filling parts, long flowing lines which make up the solo. So I'm going to do this really quite slow to start with. 1, 2, 3. The bowing for this, I think you should probably find quite a few slurs. The faster it goes, the more you're going to want to slur. Let's just try it with the backing at the same tempo as we had before. One of the things about bluegrass is it can go really fast. So if you are of a determined nature, then you want to go over and over this and keep on adding bits of tempo until you've got it up to really fast. Each of these individual phrases is something that you're going to be able to use in different places. So it's not wasted time learning a solo like this, providing you're able to take out little bits and drop them in elsewhere. Let's just do the same thing again, a bit faster. So that's the kind of tempo that you might be aiming at. It could go even faster than that. So I hope you found this useful. You don't have to do all 5 layers. If you are happy just stopping on the first layer or the second layer, then that's fine. But really, this approach to bluegrass, rather than going straight into copying a really difficult version, it's really useful to be able to add the bits as you go along. And it means you've got, I hate to use the phrase, a journey ahead of you of many years, which you're never going to run out of. You're never going to stop learning, and you're never going to get bored with a tune like this. No matter how simple it is, there's always a great deal you can do to it. If you'd like a copy of the dots of all 5 versions, then do subscribe and send me an email and I'll send you a copy. I'll play you out with 3 times round, probably with a fairly random improvisation. See you again soon.